Hello, everybody. Welcome to another stream. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome to another video. Thanks for watching. Always remember, like, share, subscribe. I don't have any of that fancy intro stuff yet or anything like that. Eventually, maybe down the line, I will. But we'll see how far this goes. I do like doing this. Talking to myself is great. Talking to a few people every now and then through comments or chats, really fun too. So excited to announce that we're going to be doing a Final Fantasy stream, huge one. That's going to be Final Fantasies 1 through 6 with the new pixel remasters that just came out. So check that out. I'll be uploading gameplay as well as I'll be live streaming that, of course. All right. So today's topic is going to be, let's just rank the Resident Evil games. I've been on a survival horror binge at the start of the year. I think Dead Space is to blame for that. Dead Space is a fantastic remake of a really great game. Here's hoping we get Dead Space 2. So sending out, the important vibes out there to hopefully get something along those lines. So, we're just going to rank these, S through D, essentially, of the ones that I've played. I've played a lot of Resident Evils. Have I beat a lot of them? I don't know. I beat a few of them. I'm really gonna only be looking at main titles this particular time, or important, or ones that maybe I have played on the side. But we'll go from there. Original Resident Evil. I played Resident Evil Director's Cut. It's gonna go to a B, because it's the best B movie game ever. Writing wise, you know what it is. It's so bad, it's so good, but you gotta give it the credit it deserves. It is still a pretty tense game with the tank controls and the corridor camera type deal. It can still get you. It's really good. My kids are going to be playing this soon after they watch me play Resident Evil 4. And they're like, oh, wow, that looks awesome. That looks great. I really want them to kind of see where the series started. They may, of course, not be into it because it doesn't look flashy or anything like that. So we'll see. We'll see how they take it. But yeah, we'll go from there. Resident Evil 2 is an S rank. It's the first Resident Evil 2 I played and beat. This game is amazing. And depending on which version you played, which I played it on PS1, and it had the rookie mode on it. So I'm always a huge fan of beating a game, blazing through it, and that's what I did when I was little to this game. I mean, I beat the game regular. Me and one of my buddies, we played through this game. He played through a lot of the parts for me that were, I had me all tensed up and everything like that. Your first encounter with liquor is pretty scary unless you're using the unlimited ammo guns or rocket launchers that you get on rookie mode, which is always fun. And then just knowing that there's so many scenarios, so many different ways the story technically goes, with the different scenarios. Just keeping an eye on when it comes to that. So, Resident Evil 2, you got to give it the love it deserves there. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, I'm going to put on B as well. A lot smaller in scope than Resident Evil 2. A lot more action-y. I think that the series really goes into an action starter with this one. I do think the scenes involving Nemesis are fantastic, and I think just the overall feel of the game, it's still scary. It's still tense. I do think it adds a lot to that. I do think it learns a few things from its predecessor, not necessarily two, because these games were designed so close together. But it learns a lot of things where it kind of elevates. It tries to be, both of these, 2 and 3, try to be a little bit more than 1 was, rather than being like a little hokey. Tries to be a bit more serious, but definitely doesn't have the best time in the world. But yeah. So, Code Veronica is a C. When people talk about how they really want a Code Veronica remake, I get it. I really do. But I've played through Code Veronica. I've had friends play through Code Veronica. Some people love this game. I think it's mid to average at best. Now, story wise, it's definitely, it could be there, but think about the flow of the current Resident Evil stories and about how that story would fit into this. I think the Resident Evil remakes are a little bit more grounded. I say grounded, but they feel a little bit more grounded into reality without a huge focus on like the other stuff that you kind of see in that, right? Whereas this goes into like the real hokey side of Resident Evil. But I also feel like there's some very unique decisions about the game that aren't really talked about. And I think it's one of those things that just kind of gets lost with discussion, is that there are some key moments in the game where you are not equipped to handle certain boss fights. Or if you don't do it properly, you kind of have to restart the fight, which I get. It's survival horror, but I don't think that should be predicated to like why you can't, do certain things. So I don't quite get that. To me, that's a little strange. But I do think that it's at least worth it's worth a playthrough to see what the fuss is about. And if it got remade, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Maybe that's their chance to actually kind of really go in and maybe take a look at some of those issues. Just kind of go from there. So, all right, Code Veronica. I never played Survivor 2. I looked so hard for a copy of the Game Boy Color Resident Evil. It was just really impossible to find. I know there's ways to procure it now, but I know it's not canon technically or anything like that to the story. So, but I've heard really good things actually about the game. I think this and Metal Gear, the handheld Metal Gear, were actually pretty solid games, and they kind of get forgotten about. There wasn't a huge marketing push for those, so it just kind of gets, thrown to the wayside sometimes. Resident Evil Remake. Where does this one go? It goes in the S tier, for sure. I've not beaten Resident Evil Remake, but I have played it to the point where I was extremely satisfied in this game. And the real reason why I haven't beat it is because I'm more of a story-based guy, and I watched my friend beat like the last portion of it on a crisp playthrough. And the Lisa Trevor stuff was extremely scary. The game is scary. Crimson Heads, though, like, oh my gosh. Is there nothing worse than going through the level and just like, oh my god, I don't have kerosene. Oh no, I don't have the way to light this thing on fire. And then you're just like, oh no. Like you're just kind of stuck there. So yeah, I Resident Evil, the remake, it didn't sell as well as they wanted it to. That's kind of why you eventually see Capcom get out of that Nintendo deal. I think if this game had been on PlayStation or Xbox, I don't think it would have delivered the exact. I don't think it would have been the same game. Personally, I love the fact that it was designed as an exclusive, along with Resident Evil 0 for it, and we're gonna throw zero into the B category, and it drops all the way down from here. Not as memorable of a story, and the inventory system was pretty bad. But overall, like it in Resident Evil, I just think that those would have been the best versions that they could have been because they're exclusive. I think anytime that a Resident Evil game had a chance to be exclusive, it really was able to shine, or at least, kind of change the game in a way. And I feel that way about a lot of exclusive titles. I feel like when certain things go multi-platform, they don't hold the same weight to them. I know I did a ranking of Final Fantasy recently. I feel the same. Because I think your first group of Final Fantasy games are fantastic because they're exclusively on Nintendo. The developer only has to worry about Super Nintendo. And the next ones are designed for the PlayStations, only. There's a difference. When Final Fantasy went multi-platform with 13, it didn't feel the same. So, I don't know. I digress. Back to another exclusive. So we're gonna skip. We skip those. Resident Evil 4. It's S tier. You already know that. Might as well just show the remake up there as well. These two are S tier games. My favorite Resident Evils, personally, just because delivery and pacing and just replayability of the game. Resident Evil 4 Remake has... I've played the Resident Evil 4 Remake now 8 times, I think, since it came out. Original Resident Evil 4, I couldn't even tell you how many times I played it. My only disappointing things about Resident Evil 4 Remake, besides the hand cannon, are I do feel like Mercenaries is lacking just a little bit. I know that it's coming eventually. I'm not going to be one of those ones. So yeah, for cut content, I was perfectly fine. I'm not a fan of the boss fight in the area, the I don't know, I don't think it was U3 or whatever, unknown, a gigantic bug thing that stalks you. I wasn't a fan of that boss fight. I just think it was a weird choice anyway in the game. And then like that room it's full of lava and stuff like that. Like, where do you keep in lava at? Or like the fire room. Anyways, I know that some people like cared about that, but at the end of the day, these two games are interchangeable for my favorite Resident Evil game. I will always respect Resident Evil 4, because I think I've bought this game more than any other game. Let's see, I bought it on GameCube, bought it on PlayStation 2, bought it for the Wii, which I think the Wii is the best version of the game. Then I bought it on the PS3. Then I bought it again on PS4. And technically I bought the remake of it on PS5. Or in PS4, whatever. So, yeah, I've paid for Resident Evil probably more than any other video game. And I'll buy it again when they remake the remake. Or, they re-release this version, like with a 5 version. But do me a favor, throw a platinum trophy on that one. I earned the platinum on the remake, but like this one, the other one did not have that at all. So, excuse me. So let's get into the more controversial ones here, and going to be some controversial decisions. I'm going to give Resident Evil 5 an A, and I know that hurts some people's feelings, but it's not on the same level as 4 when it comes down to, obviously this game isn't scary, and it does lose that initial Resident Evil, like, oh my gosh, look at this, I can't wait, or what's around the next corner. It lost that, right? But they delivered the best co-op campaign action game either ever or like during that whole 360 PS3 time phase. Like, come on, that was awesome. If you and a buddy had a chance to play that together, which actually me and a friend just replayed it last year, it's such a fun time. It is a fun video game. That game is focused more on fun gameplay, mechanics than everything else. And do I want to see a remake of Resident Evil 5? You bet your ass I do. Will I be there day one? Me and another buddy will be there, 100%. Because I love Resident Evil 5. I would play it if somebody texts me, hey, you want to play some Resident Evil 5 right now? Absolutely. I will hop right in. I just absolutely adore playing co-op in that game. But I will tell you, if you're playing it by yourself, it's not fun. It's not a fun slog through. And I think co-op puts it in a weird spot. But I do think that it's not just one of those, because like there's a lot of games you can just jump in with a buddy and have fun because it's not really the game. I think the gameplay elements elevate the game. I think, finding the treasure, finding the emblems together, like who's taking the high road of the shot, how are we doing this boss, because it still doesn't make it extremely easy. Like, there are still difficult parts of this video game, for sure. We'll be doing our professional speed run eventually. I gotta get that figured out. I played Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles, but I'm not gonna rate them here on this. Resident Evil 6, it's going to go in the C spot. Everything that I said about Resident Evil 5, it's the fun is there, but this is when your game doesn't deliver on a lot of different things. It's amazing. It feels so like there's a feeling you get when you play video games. You're like, oh, I know what era that's from. That's from the 360 era, PS3 era. That's from the PS2 era. That's from the Super Nintendo era. Like, when you're playing a game that feels like that. It's how I feel when I play Resident Evil 6. I feel like I'm playing a game that was in the middle or that end point of the PS3 generation, where it was still they were trying to learn how to progress to the next stage. When if they just would have, stuck with like the formula they had from 5, I think they would have been fine. I think at this point in time, you already know, and Resident Evil 5 is your best-selling Resident Evil game. So if you get mad about why they force more action upon us, well, I mean, when your best-selling video game, like you kind of gauge off that. You don't just gauge off the one that sold, that undersold, right? So you have to be very careful when it comes to that. So Resident Evil 6, though, it's a fun campy romp, especially with a friend. Playing it by yourself, though, it is a slog of just not great design campaigns. I do enjoy Leon's campaign. Replayed through that actually before Resident Evil 4 with a buddy, and it's fun, but it's very like, that's really strange, or where did this come from? And it's Resident Evil trying to tell a story. We already know that when Resident Evil takes itself too seriously, it just loses. It loses a lot, unless we'll get to the one that is like not like that at all here in a minute. Let's see, Revelations games for ranking these ones. I've never played the Revelations games. Unfortunately, I have. It's on my list. But when those came out, there were just so many other things. It's like a backlog. You guys know that. I played a little bit of Operation like Raccoon City, Umbrella Corps, but nothing that I'm gonna say is worth rating anything on that. Resident Evil 2 remake. Yeah, we're gonna put it in S tier. You know where it was gonna go. It's not shocking. It's the same thing that we talk about with Resident Evil 2, a regular one. But I will say that this is the most terrified I've been playing a Resident Evil game. Mr. X can go to hell. It took me. I bought this game on launch day in 2019, and it took me up until the end of January 2023 to finish it. And I had to finish it on a stream with friends who are watching me play. If not, I would not have been able to get through it because of the tension that Mr. X puts on me. I did beat it on hardcore though, so can't say too much about it. But I think brilliantly made game, beautiful game, so many things that I got right, and it reinvigorated. I think it gave the shot in the arm that Resident Evil really needed, at least to appeal to the old fans, because the next Resident Evil we talk about is it's a really great game, Resident Evil 7. This game is terrifying. It's very scary, but it still feels like a Resident Evil game. Being in that first little house and everything like that with the Baker family really took me back to being in like the mansion. So I think that's really cool. And then of course it's scary. I do think the game loses a little bit towards the third act. I think most probably would agree to that. That doesn't solidify itself being an S. But I think that first 4 hours of Resident Evil 7 is some of the best in gaming, but also some of the most terrifying. So you've got to give it credit where credit's due there. Resident Evil 3 Remake, I'm going to give a C. Too much cut content, too quick of a game. I'm okay with it not having Tyrant and act like Nemesis, but I'm going to be as transparent as possible. I think that this game should have had Nemesis follow you throughout the entirety of the game. Maybe a couple points where he's not there, but people expected that after Tyrant and 2. And I think, you like I said, you lose and alienate some of the fan base when you don't go that way. And then Resident Evil Village. We're going to put Village right here in the middle for right now. I need to play this game in third person to really to see if my opinion will change to A or even an S. I think it's a great entry in the series. I have played maybe halfway through it. It has that Resident Evil 4 vibe, but I really think that my opinion will change once I get this in third person. I'm a third person RE fan, for sure. So I definitely feel like that my opinion might change to that. But I am taking a break of survival horror right now, so that'll have to wait. So there you have it. That's my ranking of Resident Evils, at least on this listing that I've played through, and my actual thoughts on them. So yeah, let me know if you guys are excited about what RE9 is going to be. You know, what you want to see Capcom remake next. Is it going to be a Resident Evil game? Are we going to get Dino Crisis? You know, so we just kind of have to go from there. So, but yeah, other than that though, thank you, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.